him and other senators a chance to speak on the bill.
Madam President.
The senator from Arizona.
What little time remains this side of the debate, Madam President?
The minority has 41 minutes left.
41 minutes? Oh.
The senator from Arizona, Madam Chairman, may
Senator
take
from
the
Tennessee.
time he wishes.
I thank my friend from Tennessee, and I thank you, Madam Chairman. As we know, we are considering the conference agreement for the fiscal year 2010 Interior, Environment, and Related Agencies Appropriations Bill. I was deeply touched and moved by both the manager of the bill and the ranking minority members' lamentations about the budgetary constraints in which we are suffering under. Deeply moved, almost to tears, until I saw that this bill provides approximately $32.2 billion, a 17% increase over last year's levels, and $4.66 billion more. You know, the bill comes after we already gave $10.95 billion in the stimulus bill. Remarkable, remarkable. And when the distinguished manager talked about how the budgetary constraints did not allow for us to have the necessary water infrastructure projects which are so vital, particularly to those of us in the West, we somehow found room for 542 earmarks totaling $341.3 million. Now, I believe that we might be able to find some more projects that are very badly needed for water infrastructure and even for firefighting if maybe we shifted those 542 earmarks totaling $341.3 million over to the needed projects. And as far as I know, not a one of these earmarks was requested by the administration, authorized, or competitively bid in any way. No hearing was held to judge whether or not these were national priorities worthy of scarce taxpayers' dollars. Now, when I read some of these, I think it would be hard to argue that they would withstand any scrutiny, any competition. For example, $500,000 for a tropical botanical garden in Hawaii. Not in Arizona, not in California, Hawaii. $500,000 for a tropical botanical garden in Hawaii. $150,000 to renovate an opera house in Connecticut. To renovate an opera house. The real unemployment in my state is now 17%. It's listed as less than 10, but those who have given up looking for work, 17% of the people in my state are without a job, and we're going to spend $150,000 to renovate an opera house in Connecticut, and we're going to spend $500,000 for a Native Hawaiian arts program in Hawaii. We're going to spend $1 million for improvements in the Sewell Belmont House in Washington, D.C. Now, that's what I call a cozy relationship. The Sewell Belmont House is next to the Hart Building. Next to the Hart Building. $1 million. Couldn't this museum raise private money for these improvements? $2 million for an interpretive center at the California National Historic Trail in Nevada, and another $100,000 for the Tahoe Rim Trail in Nevada to build a 15-mile hiking trail from Reno, Nevada to the Mount Rose Ski Resort near Lake Tahoe. Now, I get favorites every once in a while, but this is probably one of my favorites here recently, and we Twitter the top 10, and I can guarantee you this will make the top 10. $1.2 million for rat eradication at the Palmyra Atoll National Wildlife Refuge. $1.2 million worth of rat traps. $1.2 million of rat traps are for a 5-square-mile island, U.S. territory, that's not occupied except for a few scientists from the Nature Conservancy studying the island's coral reef, according to the Interior Department. $750,000 for a conservation training center in West Virginia. I'm sure that over the years, my colleagues have gotten to hear certain states named: Hawaii, West Virginia, Nevada, California, and I'm sure that all of those are strictly coincidental. $200,000 for historic preservation of the Richardson Olmsted Complex in Buffalo, New York. Now, I'm not making this up. The Richardson Olmsted Complex is actually the former Buffalo State Insane Asylum, which was decommissioned in the 1970s. According to Richardson Center Corporation, which is a nonprofit managing the complex for historic preservation, this funding would go towards maintaining the former hospital as, quote, an example of the humane treatment of the mentally ill. $750,000 to the Hudson Quadricentennial Commission in New York to celebrate the 400th anniversary of the Dutch explorer Henry Hudson sailing the Hudson River. $500,000 to the Vermont Wood Products Collaborative, which provides grants to promote the development and marketing of wood products businesses in the state of Vermont. According to the Office of Management and Budget, Vermont Wood Products Collaborative is a continuing earmark that's received over $780,000 from Congress over the past 4 years. That is for the Vermont Wood Products Collaborative, when my state has a 17% unemployment rate. You know, some of these may have merit that I just described, and there's 542 of them. Some of them may have merit, but we won't know that. We won't know whether they have merit or not. They've never been subjected to, been authorized. They've never been subjected to competition. They've never been scrutinized. But what they've been done is been put in because of the relative power of certain members of Congress. And I had intended today to bring over recent articles concerning the investigations that are being conducted on members of Congress because of this practice of earmarking and pork barrel spending. One more example. This is the Environmental Protection Agency's State and Tribal Assistance Grant Program, which funds wastewater and drinking water infrastructure projects throughout the country. Local communities that request assistance under this program have to do so under federal and state systems for prioritizing the most important projects from a health and environmental standpoint. But all it takes to sidestep the entire process is for a member to slip an earmark into an appropriations bill that benefits a special interest in their home state. Inevitably, communities that are worthy of EPA's help are left empty-handed because they weren't connected enough in Washington. The President's 2010 budget calls for terminating all these earmarks. The President's budget asks that they should be eliminated. And the administration says, the President says, these earmarks are, quote, duplicative and not subject to the state priority setting process, which typically funds cost-effective and higher priority activities first. Moreover, the administration points out these earmarks, quote, single out projects and communities for a greater subsidy than otherwise available through existing programs, and that these types of projects require more oversight and assistance than standard grants because many of the recipients are unprepared to spend or manage such funds. In other words, some communities are receiving earmarks so large that they don't know how to handle them. Let's look at a few of these infrastructure earmarks. $2.5 million is earmarked to the town of Moorfield, West Virginia, for a wastewater treatment plant. The town of Moorfield has a population of 2,375. That's a subsidy of over $1,000 per person. $6 million goes to construct a drinking water reservoir in Fayette County, Alabama. Estimated population of Fayette County, 18,000. $1.2 million for sewer system improvements in Plattsmouth, Nebraska, population 6,900. Finally, $15 million is for the water infrastructure in remote Alaska Native villages, which exceeds the administration's request by $5 million. In its budget submission, the administration proposed reducing spending for Alaska Native villages to $10 million because, and I quote, audits conducted by the EPA Office of the Inspector General identified several financial management problems, including improperly charging labor costs to grants and dispersing funds that were not tied to the actual project costs. I'm for helping our neediest and most rural communities. Some of these projects may be truly needed, but it's a disregard for the procedure that should be followed that concerns me. So I raised a point just last month. The House and Senate Democrat leadership airdropped a continuing resolution into the legislative branch appropriations bill to keep the government running till a Sunday. It's not the way to do business. There's nothing that prohibits the majority leader from calling up a continuing resolution as a standalone piece of legislation. So I want to just say that I intend to raise a point of order. But more importantly, if this bill passes the Senate, as it did the House earlier today, the President of the United States, if he's serious about eliminating waste and unnecessary spending, should eliminate a bill that has a 17% increase over last year's levels, which is $4.66 billion more, in addition to the $10.95 billion that was appropriated to these accounts in the stimulus bill, and contains 542 earmarks totaling $341.3 million. If that isn't enough to earn the President's veto, I don't know what is. So, Madam President, I raise a point of order that the conference report violates the provisions of Rule 28, and I ask for the yeas and nays.